One, how could you possibly say that and not notice what you just said? And second, well, perhaps that's because you actually don't understand it. And third, it's because not only do you not understand it, but you don't know how terrible it is that you don't understand it. So let's say there is a 4 to 5% inflation rate for the next 5 to 10 years. And what that means is that the average Canadian savings are going to be cut in terms of their purchasing power by something exceeding 50%. That would be over a 5 to 10 year period. So it doesn't sound like a lot for 4 to 5%, but it compounds across time and it can add up to something substantial in no time flat. Hey, so I got a question that's a little pushing the envelope a little bit. The cryptocurrency types, you know, the people who are pushing Bitcoin in particular, make the extraordinarily radical claim that it would be better for everyone if the entire business of money was taken out of the hands of government permanently. And that's essentially what Bitcoin allows, at least at the present time. And so that means that central bankers and politicians would, in principle, assuming this is actually a possibility, would never be able to print money, and they would never be able to inflate currency. And what do you think about those sorts of cryptocurrency claims? And well, I'd like to know what you think about that in general.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think they're right. We have a fiat currency right now, and you know, that's why this inflation and we are losing our purchasing power. Yes, I believe that we must have more competition, and the cryptocurrencies and the Bitcoin can be an alternative. But personally, I prefer a gold standard like we had in the 19th century here in Canada, because when you have a gold standard, the central bank won't be able to print money out of thin air. It's another way to control the central bank. So, and we had that before in the past, in the 19th century, and that was very prosperous time, prosperous century. So, but I'm not against the cryptocurrency. I think we must have more competition. You're absolutely right on that.
So the Austrian economists, the Hayek types, and they believe that the business cycle is actually, the boom and bust business cycle is actually produced by the attempts by government to overspend in the face of so-called crises, and that produces inflation and a variety of other factors that then produce the business cycle in turn, this sequence of essential busts and booms. And so does that seem like a reasonable proposition to you, or do you look at it differently than that?
No, I think you're absolutely right, Jordan. You know, Hayek, Mises, Rothbard, that they're real economists, and they know that, and they're the only one that wrote about that and studied that. And I believe, yes, the circle that we have, the up and downs in the economy, it's because of the central bank. You know, money is everywhere, and if you create too much money out of thin air, you'll have inflation and distortion in the economy and boom and boost that we have. 100% agree with Mrs. Rothbard, Hayek, and these economists.
So, you know, I think these are ideas. Just we'll move a bit sideways here again. I think a lot of what political leaders could do, if they had the intellectual capacity, would be to use forums like YouTube to actually educate the public. And I don't mean I'm shaking my finger at you because you need to be educated. I mean to walk people through the logic and to explain why these propositions are reasonable, and to treat the public as if they're capable of engaging in actual intellectual exercise. Because my experience on YouTube has been that they are, to a massively surprising degree. Because I conduct these discussions with people I really admire, and sometimes those people are really, really smart. And so the discussions go fast and deep. And there's no evidence at all that people aren't following along, and there's plenty of evidence that they really appreciate it. And so
yes, I'm doing politics differently, and yes, I believe that people are intelligent, and I don't want to I don't see people like children, that we must give them more security and more regulations and a bigger government that will control them.
Yeah, well, I also think it's stunningly cynical on the part of political leaders to manage their message. You know, because it means that there's no real faith in just direct discussion, and maybe no capacity for that discussion to begin with. I mean, our prime minister has stated publicly that he's really not interested in monetary policy. And what I read that two ways. Three ways. One, how could you possibly say that and not notice what you just said? And second, well, perhaps that's because you actually don't understand it. And third, it's because not only do you not understand it, but you don't know how terrible it is that you don't understand it.
That's a discussion that we must have with them, but we don't have that discussion. We don't want to have that discussion because the solution is complicated. And we prefer to give money to them, billions of dollars, but that they don't want them. They want more autonomy. They want to be able, to have maybe the same responsibility like a municipality. So let's have that discussion. We need to respect treaties. Yes, we can do that, but we need to open that. But the mainstream political parties are not ready for that because they don't have the solution.
Why do the Métis people who are running for your party agree with that? What do they see that's valuable for them?
Because they see that we are able to speak about that. They know that we don't have all the solution, but they know that the principle where we want base our relationship nation to nation, respecting everybody, turning the page about the past. Not Ottawa will be there and telling you what to do every time. So abolishing the Indian Act, they like all that, but they want to participate with us to find the solution. And they want to have that discussion. That's why they agree with our position.
So I would like you to tell me your opinion about what's happened in Canada at the federal level under Trudeau. So what's your story of Trudeau's government? How should we conceptualize it? And what do you think about it and why?
Well, I believe it's a failure. First of all, Trudeau said in the beginning of his mandate, the first one, that Canada is the first post-nation country with no core identity. And I think that was his goal. I want them to be able to raise their money from their own responsibility. So, but the federal government has a role, and the role of the federal government is to be sure that we'll be able to invest in our Canadian forces. We are in charge of the monetary policy. We need to have a real economic union in this country that we don't have. And to be able to do all that, we need to cut spending. I believe that we must not give subsidies to businesses. We must have a policy that would be fair. Every business must have a flat tax of 10%. So I don't believe it's fair to tax a small business in Toronto and forcing these entrepreneurs to pay taxes. And after that, we are giving that to GM or Bombardier. Let's abolish that. We can save about $8 to $10 billion. So we want to have a smaller government that will spend in their jurisdiction and let provinces deal with their own responsibility. Have competition. Maybe in Quebec you'll have more private delivery. Maybe in Ontario you'll have less, and the best system will come.